Hello, class. So this is the Module 6 summary video, and I just want to emphasize a couple of key things here and clarify things. First of all, in the Charles Beard reading, Economic Interpretation of the Constitution of the United States, the point here is that the wealth-owning capitalist classes wrote the U.S. government's constitution, wrote the constitution which set up the U.S. government. And the social classes that were not allowed to participate in writing the Constitution were the working classes or the non-wealthy classes. They were excluded. They were called the disenfranchised by Charles Beard. They were disenfranchised, meaning they were not permitted to exercise their input in shaping the what the government system of the United States will be. Why? Because the wealthy obviously were acting from their own economic and political interests. They didn't want to create a system of government that might protect the interests of the working class because they wanted to protect their own interests, right? They wanted the government to be arranged in such an order that it protects their interests rather than the interests of some other social class. Now, added to this, there's a crucial point I want to make in the Federalist paper number 10. So let me go to the discussion board for this section, and let me load this document. So discussion point 6.2, question 2, which is going to show up on the quiz as well, our first quiz and our first exam in some way. According to Federalist number 10, what is the source of wealth? What is the source of private property? What is the source of wealth? And what explains that some people get to be wealthy and many others don't, according to the writers of Federalist number 10? And I gave you a hint to look at the sentence, the diversity in the faculties. Okay, now let's go to the reading. And first of all, look what it says here. Right here, starting here, right, in Federalist number 10. The diversity in the faculties of men from which the rights of property originate. So in other words, they're saying that private property ownership, to be able to own wealth, like real estate, like a corporation that's profitable or a business that's profitable, or to own an idea that's worth a lot of money. Anything that produces wealth is made possible and depends on the faculties of men. What does that mean, faculties of men? That means our intellectual capacity, the intellectual capacity of some person. Right? The faculty in BMCC, the faculty at a university is called, the faculty of a university refers to the professors who teach in that university. So the BMCC's faculty is supposed to be the brain, the minds that teach you, the students, whatever is it that you want to learn, right? So in that sense, the faculty refers to the intellect, the intellectuals, those who are who have smart about ideas, right? Who can have ideas and so on and so forth. That's the meaning of the word faculty. So what Federalist number 10 is saying, that out of intelligent people comes wealth. The wealthy are those humans who are intelligent rather than more intelligent rather than less intelligent. So here we have what we call an elitist and racist and class-based view of human intelligence and of what it means to be human beings. The authors of Federalist number 10 believe that only those who are intelligent or really smart from birth, they're talented, they have good genes, essentially, to use modern language, or they're in the superior race, which is what they were thinking. Only the smart people who are blessed to be intelligent are able to figure out how to become wealthy. So the source of wealth is superior intelligence caused by the fact that that person is a member of the superior race, or so on and so forth. So this belief is fundamentally racist. It's very important in American history because we're a racist society in our origin, and still to today, race plays an important role. Racism plays an important role. So here you have one of the original influences played by racist beliefs in American society, which is the difference between poverty and wealth is the difference between intelligent people and dumb people. It's the difference between a superior race and an inferior race. Okay? So in other words, the diversity in the faculties of men, they understand that there's a diversity. In this case, diversity is used in a way that we wouldn't agree with, but the idea that there's a fundamental difference in the intellectual ability between different types of Americans. And they were talking about the difference between whites and blacks and between poor whites and wealthy whites. Why is somebody poor? Because they're born that way. It's bad for them, but they have to understand that they don't have what it takes here in the faculty of their body. Their minds are inferior for some reason, probably genetics, they would say, if they use today's language, or back in the day, they would use race as the justifying word, and religion. God made them that way, right? So difference in wealth, the difference between wealth and poverty in society is not because somebody unfairly stole the land from the American Indians and then used it to sell something that's very expensive, like tobacco, and made money for themselves. No, it has to do with the fact that the American Indians were intellectually inferior. They didn't know how to use the land in a way that will make them wealthy. This is sort of the authors of Federalist Number 10 talking, right? So it's very important to understand this connection, that they justified slavery and their own wealth, in other words, by saying that, well, we were wealthy. Yes, we have slaves, we're wealthy, we have the land because we figured out a way to get it and use it this way. Because we are superior, more intelligent humans. If you're less intelligent, you wouldn't know how to do a business. You wouldn't know how to set up a business that's good, okay? So that's sort of the point I wanted to emphasize, which was a difficult point in our discussion forum on this question, so I wanted to clarify. What is the purpose of government? Let's see. Question number 4. What is the core mission of U.S. government? And according to the writers of the U.S. Constitution, the protection of these faculties is the first object of government. In other words, the first purpose of government is to protect the wealth of the wealthy. Or put it differently, to enforce the divisions, the supposed divisions between the more intelligent and the less intelligent. This sets up everything in American history, from slavery to segregation onward. In other words, the primary purpose, the first object, which I highlighted, right? The first object of government is to enforce the division between the social classes, to enforce the divisions between the wealthy and the non-wealthy, because those are divisions between different human capabilities, more capable versus less capable. And the government's supposed to enforce that in the original vision of the writers of the Constitution. Next sentence. From the protection of different and unequal facilities. So people are intellectually unequal by birth. And that inequality is okay, and it's supposed to be protected because that's good and fair. From the protection of different and unequal intellectual abilities, faculties. And this is how property gets to be acquired. So somebody gets to be wealthy because they're smarter than somebody who is not wealthy or less wealthy, because they are less intelligent and they can less successfully figure out how to make a living in a way that makes them wealthy. From the protection of the different and unequal faculties of acquiring property, the possession of different degrees and kinds of property immediately results. So how do we explain wealth versus poverty? Well, if somebody has, we explain the difference between wealth and lack of wealth by saying that there's unequal intelligence among Americans. Those who are more intelligent tend to be wealthy. They tend to have more private property of their own. Those who are less intelligent tend to be to have less property. Okay, so that's questions 2 and 4. It's a very important question to understand because a lot happens in our history. To go back to Michelle Alexander at the beginning of the semester, when we talked about mass incarceration, today in policing, if you're into criminal justice and so on and so forth, one of the cornerstone theories of policing is the broken window theory of policing, which is, among other things, it says that crime is caused by fundamentally some kind of a personal flaw in the criminal who chooses to break the window, or who chooses to jump the turnstile, or who chooses to steal the car. In other words, the dominant theory of policing basically says, without using those words, basically says that crime is genetically determined, or it's racially determined. They would never say that because that would be illegal. It would be overtly racist statement. But crime is essentially caused by the personal flaw of the criminal who is acting in an antisocial way, in a way that harms society in general. So the best way to treat that would be to catch the prisoner and toss him in jail and just keep him there. Because you can't really reform these people. The problem is here. That's like the 21st century version of this justification of wealth, which is connected to supposed superior intelligence. So it doesn't have to do with war. It doesn't have to do with theft. It doesn't have to do with criminal activity, right? Rigging, the law in such a way that allows you to use your workers without paying them overtime. None of those things. No, it has to do with, are you really intelligent and can you create wealth for yourself? So this is what I wanted to say about this this point here. Now, let me see, is there anything else that I wanted to say in this module? Let me look at 6.1. Okay, question number 2. A lot of you kind of confused this a little bit. So would you say that the social class structure of early United States was the same as ours or different? The answer is the social class structure of the United States today, it's exactly the same as the social class structure of the United States at the beginning of the history of the United States. Why? It's the same social classes. The dividing line is between those who own wealth and those who own a little bit of wealth and those who own no wealth at all. A lot of you wrote about the fact that all American citizens have the right to vote, women have the right to vote. That's all true, but that does not speak to the social class structure of the United States. That speaks to questions of race and questions of gender. But the social class, the fact that women can vote today has nothing to do with the social class structure of American society. The social class structure is still the same. The working class and the wealth-owning capitalist class are the two main social classes of American society. It's just that more working class people have the right to vote, and women have the right to vote, and Black Americans have the right to vote. That's all true. But the social class structure is exactly the same. So I just wanted to clarify that. See you later. Work on those quizzes. Let's see, as soon as I can turn this off. Yeah, sometimes I can't turn it off. You can stop watching at this point. I'm just trying to push the stop button on the thing and I can't, it's not letting me do it.